Yeah, that's like at least an hour of extra recording that will never see the light of day.
Yeah, just post it on the Patreon.
I'll post some of it. There was a good Pixar conversation in there.
Can't do that on the Waffle Press.
Yeah, fine, I'll work up a title or whatever the fuck.
I'm telling you, that should be the name.
All right, well, the name of this show is Avatar: Legend of the Last Retrospective. Hello, I'm your host Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host Matt Garingo.
That's me.
And today, of course, we're here to talk about the beginnings of Book 3, Fire, of Avatar: The Last Airbender. As is usual on the show, we talk about 5 episodes per recording for your listening pleasure, not viewing pleasure, because even though we'll be on YouTube, you'll just see the audio waves. There are no faces.
I don't think
sorry.
they figured that out yet, Diego.
I just want to make things clear for people.
Can you laboriously explain the mechanics of this podcast again?
Yeah, sure. So, no. If you listen this far, you know how this works.
What the fuck is up?
Yeah. So today we're talking about the Awakening, the headband, the Painted Lady, Sokka's master, and the beach. And just a heads up, the rest of this season recording will be a little differently, because there's a bunch of 2-parters and the finale is 4 parts. So we'll explain that on those episodes, so don't worry. And at the end of this recording, I'll explain it again so you know what episodes to watch for next time. But today, we're picking up in the aftermath of the fall of Ba Sing Se. Aang basically died for like a moment. Zuko betrayed Uncle and everyone. And the Fire Nations basically won the war. Like, there's no longer the 100-Year War. Now it's kind of like the 100-Year resistance, and there's like 5 people resisting.
Shit didn't go well.
No, it's bad. And it's so bad that
badly.
Aang was basically asleep for like a month, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like they say like weeks, but he's got a full head of hair now,
I think
which is
die,
odd.
I think to die, it's not that difficult to believe you'd be asleep for a month.
Oh yeah, no qualms with that setup.
Look, I get magic water does things, but one thing, and this is like, I don't mean this as a criticism at all, but it's like, one thing I always have difficulty watching now is anyone who's quote-unquote in a coma for more than like 3 days that is able to just get up and walk around immediately after. I don't think the average person knows what happens to your body if you're in a bed for 3 days. Yeah, he comes out and he's like, I'm the Avatar, and then he falls over.
Yeah, and then we see that Toph, Sokka, Katara, and Hakoda, Katara and Sokka's father, are aboard a Fire Nation ship where they're basically undercover trying to escape the Earth Kingdom, and they're just trying to survive right now until the invasion can happen. Matt, what'd you think about this episode?
I liked it. All right, goodbye, everyone.
Okay.
All right, no. I mean, I like that. I like the jump ahead. I think that's interesting because that's something we haven't really done yet. You know, like even the breaks between season 1 and 2 wasn't that long, and also Aang has like been out of it, so we got to catch him up with things. That there's now like a change in the status quo a little bit. We find out that the Earth King just left with his bear, which is something. All right, one thing. All right, to start it off, I'm a little confused on the metaphor of the walls of Ba Sing Se, because in the previous season it seemed like the fact that the city was so walled in was an overtly bad thing. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's keeping them out of touch with what's going on in the outside world. And it allows the Dai Li to basically be a secret police force that takes over the whole nation, right?
Right.
But the opening of this shows the walls of Ba Sing Se coming down and the Fire Nation coming in. So now it's like the wall was a good thing?
I think if you really want to push it there, I don't think the metaphor, like, I don't think it runs into the problem that you're saying it does. I think it's only a problem because of the external threat that was that's already been there. You know, it's not saying anything challenging about the nature of the inner rings of Ba Sing Se. I think it's just establishing that while not a good place either, it was also the last like bastion of hope. And now, as we found out, it was also false hope because of the people running it were, you know, secret police, which
Yeah.
are bad. But
guess, yeah,
it
that makes
basically
sense.
does like stamp out any semblance of like, well, we can always fall back here if that doesn't work out. Like there's nowhere left to go anymore.
Yeah, the illusion has been shattered. All right.
Yeah.
You know
I
who,
think that's it.
you know who called this shit that's going on in our country right now?
Who?
Bill Burr.
Oh my god.
All right, for one, Bill Burr, like, after Trump got elected, he said one of those things, which is very wrong, where he said nothing will change under Trump, which has been proven to be very wrong. But the one thing he said is that he thought the border wall was ridiculous, that it was impractical to build, and he said by the time we finish it, we're going to be the ones jumping over it.
Oh.
Which is kind of right, in a weird way.
Wow. I hadn't heard that. I did hear his Trump thing, but I didn't hear that part. Oh wow.
Yeah.
He's got his moments. I'm a Bill Burr fan, even when
Yeah.
he needs to stop talking sometimes.
Problematic fave, Bill Burr. You know what this reminded me of a little bit when you were explaining the walls coming down a little bit? Do you remember Machete?
I do.
Remember the plot of Machete is that Robert De Niro is going to build an electrified border fence, but it's going to secretly be controlled by, what's his name? Who's the fucking bad actor? He had a show where he trained cops in martial arts.
Steven Seagal?
Steven Seagal.
There you go.
There you go. I like how that was the one.
I know. Because Steven Seagal's like, he needs help.
Yeah,
Like-
remember that show? He trained cops, but like if you ever watched it, he was so out of shape, like he couldn't keep up with any of the criminals. And they would have to like edit together him arriving at the arrest after they already took place, but then making it look like he was involved. And then he would like look at the camera and be like, "Another gun off the streets." But yeah, he was secretly going to control the border fence, so he's basically going to turn it into like he was going to bring in the people he wanted and like extort money from immigrants. Like that was the plot of that movie. I don't know why that made me think of the walls of Ba Sing Se now being controlled by the Dai Li, who are now working for the Fire Nation.
Well, it's, you know, can you hear the sirens in the back?
No. Are they coming for
Okay,
you?
good. Yeah, I think so. That's okay.
I'm making too many hot takes.
I know.
It's Steven Seagal.
No, he's a citizen of Russia now.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. There's a whole podcast we could do about that someday.
What about so Seagal's gone to Russia and Kobe Bryant goes to North Korea? Not Kobe Bryant. What the fuck am I saying? I had the name too, Dennis Rodman. I don't know why I said Kobe Bryant.
Haven't we suffered enough from the loss of Kobe? We don't need to drag his name through the mud.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna make a joke because that was.
I know. I was like, wait, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just cut that one. I got nothing to save that.
The imagery is very similar to the Nazis marching into France.
Yeah, and it's accompanied by a voiceover from Lowe and Lee. We didn't really talk about them because they're just kind of
moment. The
it's
they give.
Yeah, it's terrific and terrifying, and it's so good. I think I was kind of teeing it up before we started recording that I wasn't crazy about these episodes. I couldn't even like joke about it long enough. Like, no, this is a terrific like reintroduction to everything.
Yeah, this is kind of how I wanted Rise of Skywalker to start.
It kind of needed something like this, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, there's a little bit there, not to get into Rise of Skywalker too much, because everything's fucking Star Wars related on here, I guess.
Hey, look, it's literally like those are the two trilogies, you know? Like, these are the two, they're the only comparable franchises, because every other big franchise like this is usually based on, like, a pre-existing property. And it's like Star Wars was a movie first, Avatar was a TV show first.
Yeah, and
So
like Rise of Skywalker does have a moment where they're like, "Oh, we're meeting up with other resistant agents. Now we gotta like escape," but you don't get the vastness of like this new empire
yeah,
like
because you're in the
rising to
fucking
power.
jungle that whole goddamn movie.
I know it's. I know.
And you
Listen
gotta
to the
burn
Rise
it.
of Skywalker commentary over on the Patreon, where you can hear us be even less kind on
And
rewatch.
all the people at Burning Man seemed like they were doing fine.
I know
I mean,
it's
again,
such,
that's not really a problem because like we see a lot of people doing fine in this season, but you know we kind of needed the other end, which is that creepy scene of them just giving the speech about how the Fire Nation has won. Everything sucks now.
it's a great way of establishing that like it's over. Like they've lost.
Yeah, you lost.
They lost the war. That doesn't mean the fight ends, but they did lose. And
Yeah,
this whole episode is kind of about everyone, or really Aang and Zuko coming to terms with that, because Zuko has everything he's ever wanted, and we'll discuss a lot in these 5 episodes how it doesn't matter because it's not really what he wanted. It's what someone else wanted for him, and it's not his own decisions that got him there. The one decision he did make was the wrong one,
Yeah,
and that got him. Yeah, there you go. To clarify.
So here's what the walls of Ba Sing Se remind me of.
Oh,
The
God.
French Maginot Line in World War II. That was the line that was like, the Nazis can't cross the Maginot Line. And then the Nazis crossed the Maginot Line. So...
Sure, yeah.
That's what led to the evacuation at Dunkirk, which is a movie.
It's also a very real historical event.
Yeah. It's also, I guess, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but that's kind of the show. I think the Dunkirk thing is like, that story is like mostly propaganda. Like, I think the British actually lost more resources than they gained. I remember reading that somewhere. I could be entirely wrong. Don't listen to fucking guys talking about Avatar explain a World War II battle. But I think it's one of those things where it's like a very like nationally important story, but it might not be as significant as it's often made out to be.
Yeah, because I mean, like, how many people in the States didn't even know about it until the movie was coming out,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
Did Dunkirk come out the year of Brexit?
2017?
So that's a year after Brexit, I believe.
Yeah, after they were like, yep, we're doing it. We
I
voted.
wonder if that's a coincidence at all.
Well, it was in production prior
Yeah.
to that. Because it takes Nolan like 2 years to make his shit.
Still, something might have been in the air.
Maybe something was. Maybe something was. But speaking of propaganda, I don't have any actual transition. There's just a lot of Fire Nation propaganda in these early episodes.
Well, yeah, the Fire Lord makes his first full appearance in the show.
Oh yeah. That's a great moment too. Like they don't even like they don't reveal it when Zuko goes in to talk to him for the first time in years. Until like the very last moment where he tells him welcome home, and you finally see him, and it's like, oh, this is the guy. This is the end game right here. Like it's all coming into place for the first time.
Another thing hanging over Zuko is that his sister claims he's killed the Avatar. So everyone's treating Zuko as a hero for that, which is something Zuko knows is not true. So that's also bothering the poor guy. Not poor guy. Fuck. Zuko is a real piece of shit in these first 5 episodes, I gotta be honest.
Oh no, totally. He's my favorite sad boy, but he's also made so many bad decisions.
Yeah, not to be Rise of Skywalker again, but this is kind of what I wanted out of Rise of Skywalker. With Zuko, you know? But instead of him taking credit for killing the Avatar, he comes back and assumes control of the First Order.
Yeah, and he's like, Rey killed our former supreme leader, yada yada.
Yeah.
Then you got Hux as Azula.
Yeah, maybe I'll just watch this every time I watch the sequel films again. And I'll just like...
And then it's a perfect trilogy.
Yeah, you know, then it works. But yeah, I guess one thing I will say about this is I love Mark Hamill, and I love him as the voice of Fire Lord Ozai, but it's also like he's like a monster man. Like, there's no nuance to the Fire Lord at all.
And we've talked about it before, and there's a lot of criticism about how like Azula and Zuko are like these such like well-defined 3D characters. Well, Azula less so,
Less
but
so.
I think that's intentional, and I still think it's not enough at the same time. You know what I mean? Well, we talked
Yeah.
about it, whatever. I think with Fire Lord Ozai, you don't need that nuance.
You don't necessarily need it, but I think one thing that just I get a little hang up on, and I mean, I really am. It's more just like, if you're gonna tell this type of story again, maybe think about these things. Don't know who I could be talking to out in the world, but hey.
Yeah, at the time of the recording, they are still making that show without the creators.
Yeah, we'll see.
Whatever.
But it gives all Zuko with the Fire Lord and Azula basically being just straight up evil people. It gives Zuko a bit of an easy out. Like, he's kind of the good one by default, you know? And I gotta give the show some credit for actually making him kind of worse in these 5 episodes. Because they could have just made him a sad boy, but instead he does kind of become an asshole. Which I like.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about a decision in the next episode he makes where it's just like, oh wow, I forgot, I forgot he did that. That's not great. But I like his monster man father.
Okay,
is all I'm saying. You know, like for the conflict of the series, that's kind of all you need is like a representation of power, and I think that would be like more beneficial again to go back to Azula's thing, where like if she doesn't need that inner plight and turmoil that Zuko has, but you do need a better like exploration of how like her status in like the Fire Nation culture and like the oppressive fascism that's like kind of guided her whole life has been psychologically bad for her. And how that's changed her. Like, she wasn't born like a monster, although the show kind of maybe throws it in that direction a little more than I would appreciate, honestly. But
well, maybe she just lived in a culture that rewarded her worst tendencies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You can look at it that way. I'm just trying to imagine the Fire Lord, like, asking his kids if they want anything for dinner. Like,
I don't think they had dinner together.
I guess it's just like that's the thing where it's like, as Fire Lord, you can imagine like it was just servants the whole time, or you know their mom did everything. But I'm trying to imagine this guy having a normal conversation.
I mean, like to look back at the whole series, every vision of the Fire Lord has been in that room.
Yeah,
across like at the end of the hall or whatever, wreathed in flames, basically faceless, a shadow. Right,
the only time he left was when he burned Zuko in that scene.
Yeah, so
in that flashback where the mother disappears.
Yeah, and even then, you know, of course, you never see the face until this episode. But like, yeah, I don't think, I don't think we're meant to see him as a person, which again could be like a criticism of the series. You know, I mean, for a series that has shown such empathy towards like the majority of its characters, doesn't mean you don't
always need like it. I mean, I love that the Emperor in Star Wars is just like evil.
Oh yeah, that's
like there's
terrific.
No nuance to the guy. Although according to some people, that unmade Star Wars TV show that George Lucas was going to do called like Underground or whatever, or Underworld or something, it was going to explain the backstory of Palpatine.
Well, I'm glad that's dead.
Yep, for now.
But I know, I'm scared. Don't do that.
Well, that's one of those things where it's like, according to the people that worked on it, they wrote like dozens of scripts for episodes, and were just waiting for funding, and it just never came. So someone might own those scripts. We also get to see Aang wrestling with his first true failure in the series.
Yeah, and he's not taking it well.
It's
not that he even has to, you know.
And his body is also destroyed a little bit, and yeah, you know, Aang's not doing great.
I mean, he's a guy who's finally kind of like accepted that he has to take care of other people, and now other people have to take care of him for a little while, and that shift for something he barely really got comfortable with is pretty monumental, you know. And then,
Yeah.
that responsibility, he let the world down again, he feels, and like, it's obviously more complicated than that, but for like a kid, that's just such a huge burden. And, like, he does abandon the ship, and there's that great moment where Roku and Yue, this is the other appearance of Yue, this is the last one, I believe. They tell him that no, he didn't fail, that he has to keep fighting, and Roku's saying that Aang inherited his sins, and that now, like, that's the real reason the world is suffering. And I think it's just a good reminder that, like, Aang doesn't always need to have, like, the burden of the literal world on his shoulders.
What's funny is, I mean, I think we've all gone through something as, like, there's that moment when you're growing up where you kind of have to come to terms with how much in your life is actually out of your control, There's so many things that drive our lives that we don't actually have any control over, especially when we live in a culture that tells us that we're all in control of our own destinies. That we're all going to make something of ourselves and we're all going to have the American dream and whatnot. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but it's also probably doubly hard if you are the literal avatar and you are expected to do great things from birth. So it's, it's that thing of like, that's got to be a heavy weight to carry.
Yeah.
And it's kind of amazing he hasn't lost it yet.
Yeah, I mean, the only other time you've seen him, like, break down, and it was severely worse, was when he lost Appa, and that was, like, him finally letting go of all the angst he was building up over that. And yeah, it's a very touching moment when he kind of gains his own self-confidence. Because, like, while this is an ensemble series, and Aang is, like, the primary, like, protagonist, sometimes these characters have to go on their own journeys without each other. And that's something this season actually does really well. Which is kind of funny because this is known as, like, the Return of the Jedi of the series. And, like, their Empire Strikes Back is mostly them together until, like, the second to last episode. Mm-hmm. And this is one where they start experimenting with stuff, but that's later. We'll get to that for first time watchers. We'll get to that. I also want to commend the writing with, like, the reunion of Katara and Hakoda, because she did not get to see her father when Sokka did, because she was helping the Earth Kingdom with their plans for the war, and that didn't end well either. But how there's this, like, genuine tension she has with her father, but it's not like she doesn't hate him or anything for leaving, but there's just that very authentic moment where she says, like, she understands why everything had to happen the way it did and why he had to go help other people around the world, but it's still tough because they were just kids and he left. Like, that's just a tough thing that needs to be confronted. And there was no real easy answer or finality to that.
Yeah.
It's just something that needed to be expressed, and I thought that was also very moving.
You know what this also reminded me of?
Is it The Last Jedi or some shit?
AVPR.
Oh my god.
With the mother.
I did not expect that.
That comes back from the war and, like, her daughter, like, doesn't get along with her.
I can't believe that's the most popular of our Alien retrospectives. That's fucking insane.
I know, because people are waking up to the fact that that's one of the better Alien films.
I don't think that's true.
It's like right under 3.
Liam, if you're listening to this, I still love Beyond Skyline.
It's a great movie.
Beyond Skyline is a great movie.
No, AVPR, great film.
Oh my god.
Underrated.
I see the point you're making, and I actually agree, but that's not what we're here to discuss.
People are going to realize one of these days. Once everyone gets over, like, oh, it's too dark. Shut the fuck up. Watch the fucking movie.
I think Liam said that's the one movie you should have your TV autocorrect for you.
No, you should. You gotta embrace the darkness.
Speaking of embracing the darkness,
it's impossible to see what's going on, much like it was impossible to navigate the post-Iraq War United States.
Bring us back. You got to make up for that. That was really bad.
Am I wrong?
No, but what else do you feel about this episode so
Mark
we can move
Hamill
on?
also voices another guy in this episode.
Oh, does he? I don't remember.
One of
Oh,
the
wait, no,
boat
no, I totally
guys.
do now. Yeah.
That must be a thing with him because he also voices minor characters in like all three of the new Star Wars films.
Yeah, oh, he gets his head he gets decapitated in Rise of Skywalker with
Yeah,
his other character.
win the war, dead.
I know, it's just the wrong kind of dark, but whatever. It's
Yeah, well, I
gross.
mean, it's one thing you can do that if I don't know that was every decision in that movie is just baffling.
Anyways,
It's like it was
um,
made by a computer. You know,
there's
it
a
really
good
does.
chance it
It
was.
really does feel that way.
I know. Um, but no, okay. So then they have that fight between the boats, and you get to see Toph do some more metal bending, and then it kind of looks like, oh yeah, they're really like up against it, and they might have to abandon ship at one point, and then the giant sea monster from the Serpent's Pass shows back up. And then it attacks the Fire Nation ship instead. I thought that was pretty great. That
That was
reminded me
pretty
of
good.
like a Godzilla shit.
Um, what was I gonna say? One thing I guess one other criticism is I don't think Toph gets enough in these episodes. Maybe I'm just not remembering something. We don't really see Toph wrestle with the fact that her own family sent bounty hunters after her.
Mm-hmm.
that
No, I would agree. I don't think it's a spoiler because we're talking about 5 episodes in this recording to say that that is just something that's not really acknowledged.
Yeah, I feel like that is something she would have to deal with at some point. Maybe that'll come later. I don't totally remember all the episodes of this season.
I do remember, but I'm gonna hold on to it. So for these
All right.
5, for sure,
I'm
it's not there.
assuming there's going to be an episode at least, but hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, much like the Ozai criticism that I vehemently disagree with. I actually kind of agree with the Toph criticism that she doesn't have a lot to do here,
Mm.
which is too bad because Toph's a great character and stuff starts getting explored later, but like it's not present right off the bat, and I guess you don't really need it, but it would be nice to have. But again, like even like Sokka doesn't have a lot to do right now. We're gonna get to his episode later,
Yeah.
but yeah, at the beginning he's just like, oh yeah, we're still planning the invasion, but instead of an army, it's gonna be like a group of our closest friends and allies,
I'm
and
sure
it's
it'll
like, oh
go
yeah.
off without a hitch.
Yeah, and then it's also like, oh yeah, and half of them are on this ship that's barely manned. Like, so it's like it's not the odds aren't great, you know. Oh, and then I guess this, Aang also has to destroy his glider. He decides to destroy his glider to hide his identity as the Avatar because the world thinks he's dead, and that's kind of
much
their secret weapon.
much like how Luke Skywalker sank his X-wing. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have a stroke.
You know why I keep bringing it up? Because I know the people that claim to love this show probably hated The Last Jedi. You know I'm right.
I know. I know.
I'm constantly wrestling with the fact that like nerds never know why they love the things they love.
And you'd think that, honestly, I hope that people go in with this show with a more open mind and start questioning things more. Because the characters in the series are constantly searching for like internal answers for their conflicts and stuff like that. So you'd think people would walk away with a little bit more, but whatever.
I don't cut this if I've already made this point, but did I already make my Jay Leno David Letterman comparison in relation to that the point you just made?
I don't remember.
Well,
I
I'll
don't
make
think
it
so.
if you hear it, just cut it again.
Yeah.
But I think a thing that you can look at when you look at David Letterman and Jay Leno, there's like this big difference between the two where you can tell that both of them loved Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, and they both grew up obsessed with it as most Americans did. But David Letterman loved it in that way where when he watched it, he was like, oh, but what if you did this? What if you took it in this direction? What if you tried something like this? Whereas Jay Leno just wanted the Tonight Show. he didn't want to take it anywhere. He just wanted it to be the exact same Tonight Show. And I think that's like there's a difference when you love something that much. You either just want it, or you want to take it in a direction that you can feel it. Anything you love that deeply, I think there's always a part of your brain that goes like, oh, but what if they took it in this direction? What if they tried this? What if they did that? And I think there's a whole other segment that is just incurious and just wants to constantly be re-given the thing they love.
I think you're right, and I also think that to further that point is that people treat it kind of like fast food. It's like, I want that cheeseburger.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's fine, but don't go looking for that cheeseburger in other places. That might be a very stupid analogy, but I'm going to stick to it.
Well, no, people often compare Jay Leno to fast food.
There you go.
The McDonald's of late night, and then Jay Leno embraced that term.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Fuck Jay Leno.
Also, the other thing to remember is that Jay Leno always had higher ratings than David Letterman.
That's really disappointing.
Except for those first few months of the show. But it's like, I'm trying to make this point where it's like, I do think that if you love something, you want to take it in an interesting direction, but that direction is very often not rewarded. And I don't know if that's just something fundamentally we'll never get past, or if we just don't have a culture that likes to embrace change and the new. And optimistically, I think it might be the latter. Because I think that's capitalism, really. Capitalism's supposed to be this really innovative thing, but the more and more you look at it, the more it just keeps things stagnant, and it makes this country very bad at adapting to change. Which is why we're going through one of the biggest transitions in societal history, and everything is breaking at the seams.
But we got to go back to the way things were. Obviously, that's what we really need in this country.
This episode, when will we hit an episode that will be airing after the election?
Probably Cora.
Cora, all right.
Oh wait, no, maybe these. Maybe. I don't know, because because we're starting September. I'm not going to look through the whole calendar right now, but we're starting September, so maybe the election's about to happen as this one airs.
Damn.
Yeah, that's boy, not great.
Not great. I mean, you could be listening to this in a post-Trump re-election world,
or in a jail cell.
That too. That's the optimistic reading.
Or in hell.
Prison would actually be pretty good for me right now, because at least I wouldn't have to pay for my fucking life-saving medical supplies.
No, but someone was mean to me on Twitter, so you can't have health insurance.
Yeah,
So fucking stupid.
Cardi B came at him on Medicare for All.
Hell yeah. I'm so proud of her growth as an artist and as being socially aware.
She admitted to robbing people, right?
Yeah, that's kind of awesome.
See, we should have known she was cool, man.
I know. That's
that was the thing where everyone was like, "Oh, you love Cardi B, huh?" Well, she admitted to robbing people, and it's like, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, sorry, you're a fucking nerd. So yeah, the status quo is not great in the first episode, but in chapter 2, the headband, things are also still not really great, and and the group has to realizes that they can't just walk around in their traditional cultural garb, so they have to steal shit and dress like the Fire Nation people, because now they're hanging out in the Fire Nation. I think that's kind of an under discussed thing in the first episode, that not only is the Earth Kingdom is Fire Nation, but they're also just stuck on a boat the whole time.
Yeah, the first episode they're still at seas, and no one controls the seas.
I guess.
I don't know if there was a League of Nations in the Avatar universe where they decided that the oceans belong to everyone. And by everyone we mean the United States, because we have the largest navy.
Yeah, the headband is much lighter than the conversation that was headed to.
I think you got the title of this episode wrong. It's
Are you gonna say
actually
it's called Footloose?
yes. I
Okay.
was gonna say
Yes, it is Footloose.
Chapter 2 Footloose. And guess what? I never got Footloose until I rewatched this episode.
I don't love Footloose, so let me just say what a big deal it is that I love this
This is a
episode.
great episode.
It's so good. I see it all the time on bottom rankings of fan rankings of best episodes.
What?
I think everyone's out of their goddamn mind.
What?
This is a terrific episode.
What's wrong with y'all?
I don't know.
This is a
It is
fantastic
so
episode.
much fun.
It's fun, but it's also like we get really into what the fuck is up in the Fire Nation.
Yeah, and you realize that the way they're brainwashing the Fire Nation children is basically just how education works in the United States.
Yeah. Honestly, this episode really should appeal to younger viewers. Because when you're in school, you're like, man, school sucks. And then when you're an adult, you're like, man, school sucked.
Yeah, and much like real school, I appreciated the friendships I made, not so much the education system,
Yeah.
because it is severely undervalued and used to make us pledge allegiance to the flag every single
But
morning.
don't worry, they don't
Wait.
pledge allegiance on the show. They give a pledge of loyalty.
Oh, okay.
That's somehow less creepy than pledge of allegiance.
I know. I think just the longer words are just inherently more creepy.
Yeah. But it's underdiscussed.
So allegiance?
It's just underdiscussed that we are legit expected to give a pledge of allegiance every morning.
I know.
I was at least at
People-
I was at a pretty liberal school where you didn't have to do the pledge really. And I made some friends through that.
I did not go through very liberal schools. In fact, I went to now looking back, pretty conservative schools, although high school might have been a little different. I don't know. I remember more conservative stuff than liberals, but I am also still friends with a teacher of mine who is more liberal. But I remember getting in trouble sometimes in middle school for not doing the Pledge of Allegiance.
You know.
Yeah, that's really fucked up in hindsight.
Did you ever
What
have a
the
teacher?
fuck?
I had this happen once in middle school, and it was a teacher I liked, but one time we were in their class for first period for some reason, and I think it was like the end of the year, so everyone was goofing off, and a bunch of people didn't stand for the pledge, and he pulled one of those I just want you to understand that veterans died to give you the right to stand for the flag, and in hindsight, that was a really weird moment.
Mm-hmm.
I had I pulled a complete 180. Whereas in middle school, I was very much stand for the pledge. It's the right thing to do. And then as soon as I got to high school, I was like, man, I'm not standing for that oppressive flag.
Well, see, for me in middle school, I was just I wasn't a rambunctious shithead, but I was at a certain point, I was starting to get disrespectful to authority. And then by the time high school came around, I was actively questioning things. I was like, oh, wait, no, this is weird. Why don't we talk about how weird this is? And I remember one of the big pivot points for me was a high school teacher in 8th grade who I had known basically almost my whole life at that point because I went to that school from kindergarten to 8th grade, right? A nice guy, very respectful to me and my family. Who has since passed away, rest in peace, Mr. Carnofel. But also, he did have this comment where he said, back in the old days in war, people would stand out in the middle of the street and shoot each other. And now they dig foxholes. And I was like, wait a second. That's weird. Why did you make that comment? And I didn't question him, but in the back of my mind, I was like, that's... Huh.
I had a history teacher.
Why is that a point in contention?
I had a history teacher who was insane, and I really liked him because he was actually he was liberal, but he was crazy, and he taught me about how it's yeah, we have the right to vote in this country, but back in the day, people would just stand around and ask you which party you were voting for and assault you if it wasn't their party.
God.
Which is something they don't normally teach about in the schools. Also, one time I threw up during the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's appropriate.
Yeah. I had one of those mornings where I was Dad, I think I'm sick. And he's like, you're not sick, you're going to school.
Oh, yep, I remember those.
And I got to school, and in the middle of the pledge, I just threw up.
None of which happens in these episodes. And Aang goes undercover at the school on accident because everyone gets their get up right, and then Katara's like, how do I look? And Aang, blushes and shit. It's cute. But he accidentally steals a Fire Nation student uniform and gets thrown into the school by like police officers or something like that, or some sort of guards, whatever. And he has to fit in because he's worried about being caught as the Avatar, right? And it's just a nice moment for him to like get used to being quote unquote normal kid. It's not normal what's being done to them, like they're brainwashing, but the idea of like able to be in an educational environment and like just have fun with friends without worrying about like the weight of the world. It's a nice contrast to where he was last episode, where he's like, I feel so bad about everything now. It makes sense why he's so excited about this, and then he goes back to like their little hideout cave, and he's like, oh yeah, I went to school, and everyone's like, oh, we were so worried about you. He's like, yeah, I was at school and I'm going back tomorrow. And Sokka's like, you were what? It's so good. Everyone who dislikes this episode is a liar.
Everyone's wrong. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. For one,
this is fantastic.
It's just really interesting to be like, all right, we're in the Fire Nation. They've been built up as the villains of the whole series, right? Literally the opening of the show is everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. It's like Fire Nation bad, Fire Nation bad. And then just an episode where it's like, yeah, the Fire Nation's made up of people too. And it's also not like this thing where it's like there's like the one asshole kid, really. Like the majority of the kids are fine. And, they maybe just don't think about what they're being taught that much.
Yeah, because, like when you're only exposed to certain things in life, like you don't even know to question certain things in life, Like there might be standout situations or people able to like perceive things beyond that, but it shouldn't even be like a question that they would have to like ponder, like these poor kids that don't even realize what's going on. And Aang has the good point to like recognize that these are the future of the Fire Nation, these kids, and they should be allowed to express themselves in a healthy manner too. And so he can kind of like carve out this avenue that if they defeat the Fire Lord, like it's not just going to be like a huge paradigm shift for like this basically fascist nation.
Yeah.
But to also like touch the hearts and minds of the people of the Fire Nation, that it's not a bad thing for them to lose their Fire Lord.
Well, it's also it's interesting. Just for one, it's just like how much it exposes about the education system when you see what's basically what school was like, except now it's under a fascist dictatorship. Like, it suddenly exposes how creepy school is. And also, it underlines in a better way than I've seen, like, movies made for adults where it's like, we can't let these kids dance because we can't let them express themselves as individuals. It's like they're not supposed to think about their lives that way. They're solely just cogs in the machine of the Fire Nation, and they have to start accepting that.
Yeah, and it's so good. And, like, you get this fun little supporting cast of minor characters in the Fire Nation school, too. Like, you talked about, like, the one bully guy who's clearly just trying to be, like, teacher's pet, but also, like, I think the alignment you're supposed to get there is that he's also very, like, pro-Fire Nation. Like, This is the way things are, and that's the way they have to be, and that's why I'm the best at it, And then the other kid... Yeah, exactly. He's oh my god, he's a fucking narc. Don't be a narc. And the other kids are like you. I don't even know any of the other names, but like you can picture them, right? Like you can see all the little designs and the quirks in their outfits and their attitudes and their voices. Like it's such a well crafted episode.
I know, and even the teachers,
I love it so much.
Such personality to them, which is something I really love. Like they aren't just like one off weirdos,
Mm-hmm.
Like you can get a lot out of him. Even just like the music teacher, who I think has like 2 lines.
Yeah, he's just like, "Why are you dancing?" And Aang's like, "Oh, we just do that in the colonies," because he has to pretend to be from one of the Fire Nation colonies.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, well, if you have to move around like that, do it in place. And it's just like, oh, wow, like this is like not a healthy environment for anyone, let alone children, you know?
It's just interesting to me that I can't think of, we've seen this story so many times, but it's always kind of like written off as like, oh, there's like a bad group in town that wants to stop the kids from having fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like Footloose is literally just like, you can't dance because it's too sexy, like, which isn't really a thing, you know? Like,
yeah.
And
although to go to bat for a movie I've never been crazy about, in my middle school, when the dances would happen and the DJs would play hip hop, the principal or vice principal would always walk up and say, "We don't really play that kind of music here."
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Also, 2 women who treated me very politely, nothing with respect and kindness. But also, you know, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, wait a second. That was weird. That's, like, not good.
No, not great.
Yeah.
But it's also, what I'm saying is, like, so rarely do you see it where it's like, yeah, you know, this is like a funny little conflict. It's like a one-off story. It's like the plot is about Avatar teaching kids to dance, right? But it's also like this thing where it's like you learn so much about the Fire Nation society from this one episode. And you also learn like why, like the true reason why stuff like that is so often suppressed by people in power. They, you know, I just can't think of too many other times where it's like it actually takes a story like this and gets political. And overtly so. Like, this isn't like reading into it too much. This is it. All of this is overt. I mean, this is literally an episode where Aang is like, you know, the Fire Nation committed genocide against the Air Nation, and it's like, that's not what the book says.
Yeah, I mean, how everyone's heard that.
Yeah.
Right. Like whether if it's something from a comment you said or someone else said in the class, like everyone's heard that. Mm-hmm. At some point from some teacher somewhere in a classroom, someone. That has happened. And maybe it's good to question things, you know? And there's a little more going on in this episode with like Zuko and stuff like that, but I also just want to make like a kind of final statement on basically the whole thing is about the dance, right? And like, expressing oneself, but it's also a little bit more about like how art is like a way of expression too, because like the stuff with the music teacher, it's like music is also a form of expression, you know, what you're creating there. And like in a way to entertain people, but also like express what you're feeling in a way that's not communicating through words and dialogue.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you can't do it like that. That's not how we do it here.
Well, it's literally like, you know, when you're a part of a band, you have your place in the orchestra. And you are serving the greater piece, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas something like dancing, it's like, well, that's you. And that's your individual expression, so it's like the Fire Nation is like, well, one form of expression's cool, but this other form isn't. And that's kind of, you know, those are debates that we still kind of have today in different ways. And also, you could just take the whole, like, quote-unquote dancing thing, and it can represent, like, a million different things.
Yeah.
I mean, we've moved from, like, in this country, it's really moved from, like, being against kids dancing to now it's just more, like, against kids, like, knowing anything about sex. Which still seems to be the big battleground in this country.
Yeah, I mean, how many sitcom tropes are, like, where the parents struggle to talk to the kids about sex? Which, like, you know, is, like, a genuine, like struggle to explain to someone, but it's always treated as, like, a punchline and not as, like, something that needs to occur.
Yeah, now think about like how it's always like a punchline, and also how those punchlines never usually explained what sex actually is.
Yeah, it's always like you remember the Bernie Mac show? Like even the Bernie Mac show does that, and I love, like, God bless Bernie Mac, rest in peace. But like the joke of it is that like they cut away when he explains, and like, I get it. It's like it was on ABC or whatever, right? So they can't like go all crazy in detail, because sex is not PG friendly, which is fine, but it's something that needs to be like discussed more openly and not as like, whew, that was tough. I'm gonna wipe the sweat off my brow.
Yeah. Well, like, here's something. Think about back to like school, like early school. How many kids did you know who understood the mechanics of sex? It's probably like 0, right? Like,
on average.
Yeah, it's probably like 0. Now, think about how you knew at least one kid who knew way too much about guns. Like, we're more comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's like, I think it's that weird thing that happens where you hear this a lot, where an unfortunate, like, I don't know what the term would be, but something that the gay community gets stamped with is that, like, the moment you come out as gay, everything you do suddenly is sexual to, like, the straight community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like they don't want you around children because when they think if you're gay, then they immediately jump to gay sex, So like they think exposing a child to a gay person is the same as exposing a child to like hardcore gay sex. There are people who think like that. And
I know.
It's fucked up. But it's also, I think it's a problem where it's like when we start going like, look, maybe we should start teaching kids what sex is at an earlier age, they immediately want to jump to like hardcore pornography or something like that. And it's like, no, maybe kids should just know how it works. And I think it's like kids don't, before you have puberty, you really don't understand. Like, you don't understand, like, that extra element of it. But, again, it's just like, I don't know. It's this weird thing where the things that we are comfortable teaching kids and the things we aren't comfortable teaching kids, I think, continue to be a problem. And it's something that doesn't really seem to be shifting. We still seem to be very repressed as a nation, even though we're being more open to, like, gay rights and transgender rights, as of right now, anyway.
There's a whole, like, episode you could basically frame around that, too, where it's like, oh, you're okay with, like, the idea of gay, but then, like, actually having to, like, coexist with it, you're like, whoa, don't hit on me, man.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's not... That's not a thing. That's not something you have to concern yourself with.
Well, it's also like, think of how many
That's not what it's about.
Yeah, but also like think of how many comedy films portray gay men as like all they want to do is have sex with any man they meet.
I know.
And that's what people think gay people are for whatever reason. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
This is why I should be emperor of the world.
Why? No. If anything, this show also proves that emperors are bad.
Yeah, but like, give me like make me emperor for like 5 minutes.
No.
Because like I would just put like Planned Parenthoods in like all public schools.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's good.
Just start handing out birth control to like children. I don't know, not children, but
yeah, like whoa,
teenagers.
There you go.
We all know what's up.
Yeah.
Remember, there was I think it was. We developed a vaccine. It might have been for cervical cancer or something like that. Or no, because it was a sexually transmitted disease. I can't remember, but there was some vaccine that came up for some sexually transmitted disease. And they were like, all right, we want to start giving it to kids who are like age like 10. Like we want to inoculate kids when they're 10. And the conservatives freaked the fuck out. And we're like, we can't do this because this will encourage kids to have sex. And it's like, no, we're giving it to them when they're 10 because that's when they're not having sex. If we give it to them later, it's too late. Like, this fucking country, man.
Well, the whole conservative mindset, I mean, like, it's obviously more complicated than this, but, like, people don't want to address a potential problem because that means that there's probably a problem already worth addressing. And, to bring it back to Avatar a little bit, that is kind of like the Fire Nation thing where it's like, no, the Air Nomads had an army. Like, that's why, and the Fire Nation attacked to defend themselves. That's why they had to wipe them out. Like, oh, that's not how it worked. And
Yeah, I like
even if they did have a standing army,
I like the
it's a little weird to
detail
do a genocide.
Aang throws out this like the Air Nation didn't have an army, where it's like again where it's like where you're taught about like the Indian Wars, and it's like, you know, Native Americans didn't have the like militaries we have. A lot of the weapons Native Americans used were weapons we sold them. It's like a thing that like we ignore fairly often in discussing our history. But what do you?
Yeah, no, this is a great episode.
Great episode.
And Zuko is also we didn't really talk about on the preview about the previous episode, but Azula basically, you know, the way she tells her father about Zuko like killing the Avatar, is to make sure that like, hey, if anything went wrong, it's not on me. But there is a moment in the second episode where it does seem like Azula's genuinely like, hey, I am looking out for you. Don't go see your uncle anymore. Mm-hmm. And maybe she is just trying to like keep things under her control. But I like to think that there is something like she does want to be like brother and sister with Zuko. Like she does want that relationship. It's just she's evil and he's not, and he's struggling with that.
You compared her to Loki earlier, and I think that's pretty apt because it's like there's a point in Ragnarok where it's like Loki doesn't even really know who he's fooling anymore. Mm-hmm. And you know, Zula, she's such in the mindset of who she is that she doesn't. I don't even think she knows if she's trying to protect her brother or if she's really just putting him in a position where he'll be under her control. You know, like she no longer sees that difference anymore. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of a sad thing about Azula.
Yeah. And again, would like that a little explored a little bit more.
Yeah. Always could use, but I think I think I was undervaluing how much we learn about Azula just through her actions. Because she is more just a straight up antagonist in season 2. Whereas this, like, you get to see her kind of living her life a little bit. And it tells you a little more about her.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that more at the end of this, but and Zuko also hires a bounty hunter to kill the Avatar.
Yep.
Which is not good. Not good.
He'll be important at some point.
Oh yeah, he is kind of gone for a little bit, huh?
That's for like 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah, it's like here's the cliffhanger, and then we kind of forget about him. That kind of works for me, but yeah, he's not exactly a main antagonist. He's definitely like
he's kind of a Terminator.
Yeah, there's literally nothing else to him, and you don't need there to be, but it is just like a little. It took me a moment to get used to on this rewatch to kind of get readjusted. Like, oh yeah, he's not a Zuko or a Azula. Like he's just like a murderer.
He's like a Terminator, or he's like a Boba Fett type. If Boba Fett
don't say
talk.
Boba Fett to me.
Why?
Don't bring him, because nobody gives a shit about Boba Fett, even if they think they do.
Listen, I'm just saying he's kind of like a Boba Fett type.
Okay, fine, whatever.
He's literally a bounty hunter.
Yeah, I know, whatever. He's fine.
I like the other bounty hunter better. She rode that.
June.
Yeah, she rode that weird animal thing.
Yeah, I like that. I like that monster.
Remember that weird moment where Uncle Iroh's hitting on that woman?
Yeah. It's the one time Uncle Iroh's creepy.
That's a strange moment.
It definitely is. I wonder who wrote that episode.
Yeah, that's very odd.
I know we have to move on, but I just really love the dance finale with everyone dancing together, and then there's that moment where the kid's like, "It's like all my inhibitions have gone away."
Oh, yeah, that's
and then the teacher shows up with the guards and the student, and he's like, "Oh, they're back now."
Yeah, that's a genuinely. The other moment that killed me was when they all kind of pull a like "I am Spartacus" thing, where they're all wearing the headband.
Oh, it's so good! It's so good, and I guess you have a point to make about it.
No, I was just saying. It's funny when then they help Aang sneak away, and Aang runs away and like waves at him, but then he shuts the cave behind him, and that kid has that like moment where it's like, "Hey, wait a minute."
Yeah, he's like, "Wait, there's something up."
And also the people that are chasing them are start dancing too, which is fun. So
yeah, but like like we got to move on, but like that is also just a great moment where it's like, oh, the very thing that they were pressing upon the kids, like the lack of individuality, is what kind of causes their downfall. It's not the same thing as like overthrowing a fire general or anything like that, but it's just such a sweet, well-crafted episode designed with like these really empathetic payoffs.
Yeah. No, it's a great episode. I'm shocked to hear that it's like not well liked.
Yeah, like at the very least, it's not. It's not on any high ranked lists.
There's always
from what I've seen.
There's always these weird episodes in every season where it's like a very self-contained story that's almost kind of goofy, and then maybe has like a couple plot beats in it, and those always end up being my favorites. I don't know why.
Oh, and Aang and Katara dancing is really cute. I just need to say that because I like that shit.
And they do crazy dancing.
Oh yeah, well, it's never explained, but I think what he whispers in her ear to get her comfortable with dancing is that it's like bending, because they are doing like moves together, and they're not like dance moves. Like I think he shows the other students earlier like something called the Phoenix Flight, and it is just like nonsense with his body.
Yeah,
it's not, and that's cute. But like with Katara, I think it is like supposed to be like like it's like bending together. So that was cool. I don't know.
It's like
I love
bending
that shit.
together.
Not. Never mind.
I'm just saying that's what this is a metaphor for.
I know. Even with the like, Sokka has a moment where he's like, "Oh, him, Aang, and that girl look good together." And she's like, if you're into that, like.
Oh, we forgot to talk about Sokka dressing up as Aang's father.
Oh my god! Yeah, there's so much in this episode.
That's a great moment. It's just hysterical.
Fire, Wang fire.
Yeah, it's hysterical that works at all, and it's also fucked up when he's like, "I'm gonna take him home and give him what for," and then the teacher's like, "That's exactly what I want to hear." And like,
yeah, and that doesn't bode well for like the culture of the Fire Nation. Yeah. You know,
doesn't bode well for what maybe happened after that party.
Oh yeah. But I do love that everyone's like, you know what, Aang, like that was a really great thing you did, and maybe it'll like help us in the long run, kind of thing. And then everyone's like, oh, Sokka, you could take off the beard now. He's like, no way. Like, so that just made me happy. I wish that beard stuck around more, but that's okay.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, but we got to move on to the next episode, the Painted Lady. Which I'm just going to say it up front, is about Katara being both a superhero and an eco-terrorist.
Yeah.
And I love it. Shit like this radicalized me as a child.
Yay for terrorism. It's kind of nuts.
She's basically like Poison Ivy in this.
Uh-huh. And it's kind of nuts how much children's media, like the protagonists, like fit the exact definition of terrorists. Like, it's not like, you know, now where it's like, oh, you spray painted that statue of General Lee, you're a terrorist. Like, it's like, oh no, they're like legit blowing up buildings. I mean, hey, that explains some things.
Yeah, I love everything with Katara in this episode. I don't love the rest of the gang being so reluctant to like help her, except for Aang. Aang hops in right away because he knows it's the right thing to do. But I also I kind of get why Sokka is more like, we gotta stay on schedule, but I don't really buy it taking him that long to come on board with it either.
Yeah, I
don't know, that might be just a me thing.
Well, I think there was just something about them being more upset that they were being deceived, which is something Katara's do. She's deceiving everyone, both her friends and the village, for the greater good, because she's pretended to be the Painted Lady spirit.
Yeah, who does come to thank her in the final scene of the episode for like keeping the literal spirit alive, and that's like a very, like, only Avatar could pull off something like that. Yeah, you know, like it's very touching. The village, I like the joke with the guy who's like, oh, I'm gonna get my brother shoe, and then like he keeps pulling out like these hats, and it's like the same guy. but it's also not entertaining enough for me to be like, I liked seeing that all the time.
It would have worked if it turned out there really were like three brothers.
I think so. Yeah.
That would have made it like really work.
Yeah.
Because
it also reminds me of. Yeah, no, it is very dumb. It also reminds me of Zuko Alone a little bit, because at the end they're like, look at, like, they helped and stuff. They freed up the village from the Fire Nation, like, troops and their power plant that's like basically poisoning the river with the sludge from their war factories, right? And then for a moment there, it looks like they're gonna turn on Katara, like the village turned on Zuko, but no, they're like, you know what? Yeah, thank you. That's cool. And then I don't know. It's a nice episode, and the Katara stuff I think is really, really great, but not much to go on beyond that.
Other than it is like good to finally see like what the Fire Nation is doing to their own nation in order to fund this fucking 100-year war, a forever war. Glad I don't relate to that in any way.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, it really this show really does like totally nail out like the idea that basically this shit is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like the way that world works. Like if say the Fire Nation had gone on for another 100 years like that, right? Dominating the planet, like the planet's gonna turn on them.
Yeah, it's gonna
because in that world it's
apart.
got the spirits and shit. Yeah. Like that's not sustainable. And like what we're discovering in the real world very quickly is that not only is that not sustainable, it is less sustainable than we thought it was like a year ago and the year before that. So just something to toss out there.
Yeah, it's something
Katara as an eco-terrorist is cool. Those two comments are unrelated. Excuse me. But no, good episode. I like Katara having the spotlight, and she will get it later in the season as well, in a very different episode. But we'll save that for another recording.
Oh yeah. I was gonna make the point that like, yeah, it's just not sustainable. And it's like even libertarians agree that, like even libertarians agree that war doesn't generate wealth, it just destroys wealth, which is maybe the last thing you should think about in terms of the consequences of war. But it's also something to maybe point out. But hey, who knows?
Yeah, like it shouldn't be the olive branch you extend to people when you're trying to point out something is bad. But for those like hardcore conservatives, at least, I think that's kind of what they need. It should not be the sole priority of stopping it, But I think that can tend to help people see the light a little bit at first. But whatever. But it's not like the world's on fire and the air's poison. Anyways, Chapter 4, Sokka's Master.
Is there another air warning in LA today?
Actually, yeah. Today is like the hottest day of the year. It's like it's 108 degrees outside right now.
Did what's the PG&E shut off your power? Because I guess they're doing that across the state.
No, so far no, thank God. But I have unhealthy air quality for sensitive groups. That's been the thing for like 3 days now.
Really good advertisement to move out to LA.
Yeah, don't come here. Stop coming here. It's bad, and it's going to continue to be bad in my lifetime. But anyway, Sokka's Master. Sokka is starting to feel a little isolated because everyone can do all this great bending stuff, and even though he is like generally an intelligent guy when it comes to like tactician stuff and like battle plans,
a buffoon.
He has one brain cell, and sometimes he shares it with Aang, and he just feels useless sometimes. Like the episode has this great opening where everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna do this. Toph, you build the earth this way. Katara, you get the water. I'm gonna ride above Appa." And then he's like, "What should I do?" And everyone's like, "Just guard Momo."
You know what this episode reminded me of?
The Karate Kid.
No.
I'm just trying to guess what you're gonna say because I never know.
It's that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they decide that Charlie's the wild card because they're trying to find out their roles.
Oh my God.
It's like, I'm the smart one, you're the sexy one, he's the funny guy, and Dee's the useless girl. And instead of Dee being the useless girl, it's Sokka's the useless non-bender. And
Oh.
they try to upend it, and then shit starts going wrong because the Katara tries to fill the role of being the funny person and fails entirely.
Oh yeah, but that's so great.
It's
Like,
great.
and then Toph has a great comment about how I already picked my feet twice today. like, oh wow, she's picked her feet twice today. You know they're bored. Oh, we haven't really talked about Iroh, and he pops up back in this episode. Zuko went to go see him back in episode 2, the headband episode, and Zuko is basically pleading because he doesn't know what to do, and so naturally he makes the worst decision possible and hires a murderer to look
Yeah.
for the Avatar. And in this episode, we see Uncle basically being like a pathetic old man sitting in a corner of a prison cell, except he's actually working out at every opportunity possible and has somehow gotten shredded.
Yeah, he's working out and he's getting ready. It's great.
Yeah, I love it, and I'm totally cool with it. But I like the when people try to be like, is that really realistic? Don't you really need like a bunch of protein to maintain that physique? And it's like
Don't you need a
we
tall
find
glass of shut the fuck up?
yeah, yeah. Like Katara talked to a spirit in the last episode. We've seen a lot weirder shit than an old man getting shredded.
Yeah.
We've seen another old man shredded on this series,
Yes.
King Boomy. So, whatever. Who gives a fuck? It's cool. It's awesome
also-
that Iroh's like building it up.
It totally works narratively, but it's also very clearly a way to work around the fact that Mako unfortunately passed away between the recording of the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And now Greg Baldwin voices Iroh. And does a pretty good job. He took over, I believe he also took over the voice of Aku on Samurai Jack.
Yes. Yes, he did.
Greg Baldwin's current Twitter profile is him as Iroh.
Yeah, because I think
it
that is
works.
what he's most known for now.
It actually works. He looks like him.
Yeah, no, he totally does. And shout out to Gene who got to interview him at I think
yeah.
Long Beach Comic Con like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit,
He had
he-
not seen Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh.
So yeah, I know. So he just I know.
Had he seen
I know.
Hail Caesar?
Yes.
Because he is one of the communist writers in Hail Caesar.
And Gene's a huge Samurai Jack fan, so
okay.
he, naturally talked about that. So
Greg Baldwin is
you're
the
all right,
one-
Gene. You're all right.
Greg Baldwin is the one who keeps telling the guy to shut up in the meetings.
That's great.
And he's also the one who's like, I wrote all the way pictures or whatever.
That's a great movie.
What a good movie. That's a weird one where the Coen brothers get like a ton of weird character actors to play all the communists. And fucking Wayne Knight is in it and has no lines.
Oh God, is he? I don't remember.
He's the one who poisons Clooney.
Oh, that's right.
He's the one who
Okay.
drugs him. And he's an extra. That's how they figure it out. 'Cause it's like you can never trust an extra. What a good movie.
Yeah, Iroh's getting ripped, and Sokka goes to find a master while everyone else is trying to figure out their own shit
Well,
to
they
do
first-
now that Sokka's gone.
They first try to treat themselves by going shopping.
Yeah. Oh! And way back when we first started recording these, I brought up an instance where the marketing tried to push some creative control over the creators in the series. So now, do you know where that showed up again?
Where?
In this episode, when everyone's trying out the weapons, and Aang tries out that battle armor.
Oh, were they trying to be like they should have different armors and stuff like that?
Yeah, they were like, oh yeah, you gotta give us more stuff to work with so we could sell toys, and the creators were like, they're pacifists, like,
I could have sworn
and so
that armor felt like a reference to something, though.
I'm sure it was partly a reference to something, but I know that was them being like, fine, you want your fucking thing.
It just
Here's
seemed
your-
oddly specific. And you're probably right. This is also, I believe, Toph like makes the Nickelodeon logo at one point or something.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because we didn't talk about, like, a meteor crash lands in front of them, causing the fire, which made Sokka feel inadequate when everyone else worked together to put it out and save the nearby village. and Sokka will eventually use that meteorite to create his own sword from his master, and then Toph gets to play with it because they've never bended space Earth before, which is cool. And yeah, she makes Nickelodeon logo. She makes some other stuff. I don't think those are references. They're just cool.
It could be, but I don't know them.
Yeah, I don't either. But no, that's cool. That's cool.
That's when they see that sword, and it's like, hey, it was made by that guy. You should go see if he'll teach you or something. And they go, and the guy's like, oh, this guy never takes anyone. But then Sokka's such a boob that the guy's like, you got a different vibe, do you?
Yeah. I mean, like, Sokka is, he's like the class clown, basically, of the group. And he does have his moments of intelligence, but he is also, like, very down on himself in a world full of, like, what he once called magical people and shit. And, like, it's easy to see how he could feel like, I'm not as talented or as important as other people. And I mean, like, who hasn't felt like that once in a while?
It will also become a theme going into Legend of Korra. That kind of divide. Which is only hinted at occasionally in this series.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, right? Like
your three other friends are like all have superpowers. You know what? No, I wouldn't mind that.
I would be kind of bummed. I'm not gonna lie.
I'd
be a little bummed.
But it's I've always thought about where it's like I never really wanted to be like Superman or someone like that.
Mm.
But I always want to be the guy who's like hanging out with Superman. Just be like, man, Lex Luthor fucking sucks.
I just don't want to get fridged.
Yeah, that's bad too.
Yeah.
I can't believe that was a thing.
I know. But anyways, Sokka's master basically tells him, like, no, like, when you first showed up here, I wasn't sure what to, like, think of you. And then when you showed me your talents and stuff like that, I wasn't impressed. No, it definitely wasn't your skill.
That's like, yeah. Like, you can't help but shit on Sokka.
I know. He's like, no, it definitely wasn't that. Make no mistake about it. Definitely wasn't.
Should point out real quick that the master is voiced by Robert Patrick from Terminator 2. Hey.
I always wanted to do that.
That was something.
Yeah, sorry, everyone.
All right.
Those are two great movies. Anyways.
I thought something was wrong with my headphones.
Oh no. No, it's it's great to see him in a series like this. Also very good in the severely underwatched and underappreciated series Last Resort, which is a little conservative, but it's also very good. So who am I to say?
Yeah.
Things.
Never heard of it.
Oh, it's really good.
Is that the one where they're on a submarine?
Yeah, and then they're framed for like a strike on a country, and then they have to go like into hiding, and then they basically accidentally do colonialism, and then have to work with like the natives of an island, and it's not perfect, but he's great in that series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Canceled.
Yeah, after one season.
13
but it got an
episodes.
ending. It got an ending. They had enough time to kind of rework it into like a rushed finale. And it's actually pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. I wish everything had that opportunity, but anyways.
Do you remember the show Drive?
Nathan Fillion?
Oh yeah, he was on that.
Okay, yeah, I do, because I was like, I don't know why, but I watched every episode, but I never sought it out. It was just on TV when I would turn it on. And then it stopped airing at one point, and I was like, wait.
It's about an illegal cross-country automobile race.
Yeah, it's like Mad Max, but boring.
Creator Tim Miner has described the show's thematic tone by saying, a secret illegal underground road race can be anything from Cannonball Run to The Game to North by Northwest to Magnolia on Wheels. Ours is all of those things.
Tim Minear got his success on Buffy, Angel, and Firefly, and Terriers. So I'll
Hey,
defend him,
the Twitter account
unless
is
he's like a
still
shithole human
active.
being. Really?
And by still active, I mean it's still up and last posted
Oh,
September 17th, 2009.
wow! Bring back Drive. I'm gonna start the campaign.
Yes.
Hashtag reverse.
I just retweeted that account.
Okay, good.
Thumbs are killing me. I don't know.
Um, do we have anything else to say about this episode? It's good.
It's good. I
It's
mean,
another one
and
like
then
the Painted Lady, where it's like, oh, I love all of this. I got nothing else to say really, though.
Sokka realizes, like, I've been lying. I'm not actually from the Earth Nation. I mean, from the Fire Nation. As if the fucking guy couldn't figure that out. And, yeah, then they get into a sword fight, and it's fun.
It's a little clear that he's just testing Sokka. Like, he's not
Yeah.
actually looking to, like,
Sokka
hurt
does
him.
a very good job.
Yeah, and he showcases his ingenuity, his prowess, and, like, using the environment around him in battle and stuff like that. And it's really nice to see Sokka get a moment to shine like that. Because he's had a rough time, too, you know? All these people have had a rough time. But his first girlfriend turned to the moon. So,
Yeah,
that's tough.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Holy shit, the
And
guy who played Homer Stokes in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou also did a voice in this episode.
oh, really? Is he like the butler?
I don't know, I'm checking.
Oh, okay.
Voice someone named Warden Poon.
Oh, he might be the guard at the prison where
Oh,
Iroh is.
yeah, alright. Alright, yeah.
No, that's a good choice.
So that was Homer Stokes, friend of the little man.
Oh, and as they're leaving, and Sokka's master bids him farewell and good luck on their journey with the Avatar, because he's like, yeah, I know, I've done this whole time, it's fine. He also gives them a White Lotus Pai Sho piece, similar to the one that Uncle had.
Hey.
Just interesting that makes an appearance here. But on the last episode we're talking about today, Chapter 5, The Beach.
You know what? It's less interesting if you watch this episode and saw the episode recap at the start, where they make sure to play the scene where Uncle Iroh's talking about the White Lotus Society.
Yeah. And I wish that one had kind of been pulled, so that way for wary viewers would be like, oh, wait, that's right.
Yeah,
But
that's one you don't need immediate explanation on.
Yeah. I wonder where that's going. Anyways, Chapter 5, The Beach.
Chapter 5, Spring Break.
Yeah, it is
Spring
the Spring Break episode. Spring Break forever.
Break.
Where is Gucci Mane in this episode?
What's his character's name in Spring Breakers?
Alien?
Alien.
You're talking about James Franco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the alien in this episode?
Oh, I don't know. Show's not good enough to have a character like that.
Boo! No, that's for the sequel series, I guess. I don't know.
I like this episode. It's just they don't have Alien.
No, this might be my favorite one of the bunch, actually.
This is really good. Although I got some questions.
Okay, bring it on.
It's a very fan service heavy episode, I would argue.
That's why it's the opposite of the headband. This one is always on like top 10 episodes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it on a top 10.
And
but I like it a lot.
I guess it's cool if it's because this show made for children. But it's a little weird because I was googling Ty Lee's name because I wanted to make sure I got it right, and like the first image that comes up is her in the bathing suit.
Oh no, it's one of those things.
That's a little. I got some questions. It's just a weird thing to be like, all right, this show needs a beach episode.
Well, it's an anime trope, isn't it?
I guess, at least it's not like one of the shows where it's like, all right, let's have all the female characters go to the hot springs.
Oh,
where they'll get naked or something. Like, you know, they at least didn't go that far, which was probably something that was on Toonami at around the same time. But at least those characters are usually adults.
We don't need to get into anime here.
Yes, we
It's a
do.
whole there's a whole can of worms.
Half the
that
audience
go
thinks
along with
we
that.
are talking anime right now.
Oh, that's right, huh?
There's that big debate about whether or not this is anime.
I don't care. I just like this show.
Well, I think there's some people who are like, it's anime, and that's what makes it sophisticated. And then there's people who are like, no, it can't be anime because anime is trash.
That's me. I'm much more the latter.
You anti-anime guy?
I used to be vehemently anti-anime, and now I'm just like, I don't care. I
Well,
like
it's like
Cowboy
been, like,
Bebop.
It's become a thing, but like it feels very hypocritical when I was raised on like Toonami and Adult Swim. You know,
Yeah, maybe.
it's like we're the
And then
we're the anime generation.
we definitely are. But there is also the whole thing that I kind of used to tweet about that a lot, like fuck anime. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, is that just like disingenuous to like an entire like culture? Like, is there maybe like something deeper, more uncomfortable going on there? I'll probably cut back on that. Like,
Now play
I
that
don't
clip of Hayao Miyazaki saying, "Otakus never learn" or whatever the fuck he says.
Wait, what? All I know is he's that great clip of him responding to that one scene that he was shown by this company.
Oh
And he
yeah,
was like, I think it's an insult.
This is an
to
insult to
itself.
life itself.
That's just fucking
Can you,
great.
Can you imagine being in that room when that happened?
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
It would have been. I don't even care if I was the guy getting yelled at. Like, I'd be like, I would love to be alive in that moment.
I mean, is that not your response to Googling Ty Lee and then it's like her outfit from the beach episode as your first image? That is kind of an insult to life itself.
I don't. I'm trying to be like, you know what? There are kids that are the age of these characters that are probably this is their awakening, so I can't judge that heavily. But you know,
like that's okay. That's like not unhealthy.
Kids need something like that. You know, you need that moment. You need that moment that when you're in your mid-20s, you rewatch it and then you go, "Oh, that explains a lot." Which has happened a few times when I revisit some Toonami shows. But yeah, I don't know. It was just it's a little concerning that when I Google any of these three characters, it's like the like second or first image is the bathing suit. So
yeah, that's very disappointing.
I don't know. And now it's this weird thing where if I can't look up anything on Google Image anymore because I think they've like tried to make it more like safe, but in trying to make it more safe now, just like if you go at all deep on Google Image search, like really fucked up shit shows up.
Oh, I've like what are we talking here?
I'm just like where you're like, I did not know people were into that.
Oh.
And it's like you think like, the internet can't shock me anymore. And it's like
no, if you're saying that, you're ignorant. The internet can always shock you.
Yeah, but like you always see that thing where you're like, well, it can't get lower than that. And then it does.
Not after this year.
I guess.
This year's put a lot in perspective, and perspective is meaningless.
I get, yeah, but I'm talking more just about like people's private interests as opposed to just political interests. I'm always cynical about people's politics.
I guess, but regardless of all that genuinely concerning shit,
I'm gonna break everyone's mind now who doesn't know this.
Oh my god!
There are people who are into airplanes in a sexual way.
I got it.
I felt like I needed to throw it on because a lot of people, because Hayao Miyazaki likes airplanes, but not in the way that other people do. And you know what? Not judging in any way, but it's just like it's like what led to that, and not only that, what led to it, and then why is there a community of it? But then again, there's that woman who like is like in love with the Eiffel Tower. Did you know about that?
I'm gonna let you dig yourself out of this one.
No, internet, you learn a lot. Learn a lot on the internet. I think I've probably said this quote before, but someone once described the internet as a place where you can hang out with real weirdos without actually having to smell them. And it's true. And I think that's actually the better side of the internet. The problem is when it bleeds over into children's cartoon characters.
Yeah, that's a genuine problem.
Yeah. Shout out to the My Little Pony fan base.
Nope, absolutely not. Anyways, everything else in this episode, I really like.
Yes, now that we've gotten that out of the way.
This is an episode about how the children, the war criminal children of the Fire Nation, basically never got to exist as actual children, and that's caused a lot of psychological and emotional trauma for them.
Yes.
And that's why I find it really compelling, and it's great that it's just an episode where they try to fit into like normal teenage society and fail miserably, and then have to go down to the beach to talk their shit out in a healthy manner, except for Azula. And usually, this is where I would be like, I'd like a little bit more there. Here, I think it's actually a benefit because she can't open up like the others.
No, that's a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great part. There's also a fun volleyball game.
Oh, yeah. Where she destroys the net and almost kills, like, the opponent's team.
Yeah. Zula's got some problems.
You think so?
Zula's got to work on some things.
Like, Chan, that outfit is so sharp.
It is a genuinely sad moment where she's, like, kind of making it with that guy. And then she's like, we will be the most powerful couple in the Fire Nation.
Then he's like, I gotta go.
The guy off.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about how guys are easily intimidated by women with like a higher social status or stronger. But yeah, that would be a problem for anyone.
Yeah, like genuine, like monstrosity is a little concerning, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would raise some flags.
Yeah. We haven't really talked about Zuko and May are together in this season, and they seem to be like genuinely like happy and into each other, and it's like kind of sweet. And also Zuko is still working out with shit.
Yeah, he's like, I love how you don't like anything or whatever.
Yeah. And what does she say? Like, I don't not like you or something, like some weird double negative that's kind of sweet in a way that only those characters could engage with.
You know what it reminded me of a little bit? Do you remember Teen
Parks
Titans?
and Rec?
No, Teen Titans.
Oh. Yes, I have seen Teen Titans.
They used to play this clip in like so many promos for Teen Titans where they were at some party and Raven would be like, this party's pointless, and this dude like rolls up and he's like, everything's pointless. Want to go talk about it?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. I'll see if I can find that.
It's a great clip. It was what they used to play it all the time for whatever reason.
Because it was a great clip.
Yeah, what a great show.
Yeah. Oh, I want to revisit that at some point. I haven't seen that in years.
Then we can watch the new Titans where he says, fuck Batman.
I'm not watching that show. Anyways.
According to some people, it's actually genius.
Anyway, so the bounty hunter also tracks down Aang when he's spotted by some Fire Nation soldiers. And I guess the implication is that not only is that messenger hawk left for dead that's captured by the bounty hunter's hawk, that those Fire Nation soldiers do not make it out of that canyon because they know the Avatar is alive.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, dude, kill them.
Yeah, right? Like, it's not even, like, hinted at in the episode, but they'd have to be, right?
I mean, I don't know when, because eventually, not to spoil things, but Zuko's lie is going to come out eventually. You know? I don't remember how it comes out exactly.
We'll see when we go over the next couple episodes.
Yeah,
but
I have a feeling, but we will see. Also, again,
yes,
with
we will.
Fan service thing, even like those small subplot with Team Avatar, they're also in swimsuits. And
yeah, but there it's a little more equal, I would say, than like I can see where you're going with the Ty Lee stuff now.
There is something to be said about Fire Nation attire because they're Fire Nation. So I'm guessing if you're a firebender, your body's probably hot all the time. So there's something to be said about the looser attire, but yeah.
I guess.
Well, because I mean, literally, like
Yeah.
those cops that like show up in the dance party episode are very underdressed.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I
But
mean, you're dealing. Even if you're not hot all the time, you're dealing with fire. You
yeah,
don't want a lot of like loose attachments that could
it
get in
makes a
your
little
way.
more sense than some other times outfits are made like that.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
one girl in Metal Gear Solid who can breathe through her skin.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's the
the
stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my
that's the
entire life.
funniest goddamn thing ever. That's
It's like, oh,
so.
that's why her clothes is tattered, and it's like that doesn't explain anything.
Can't you just be like, I like seeing naked women? Like,
To go back to that conservative sexuality thing, I think being that upfront about it, then there would be like the outrage, and everyone would be like, no, my outrage is justifiable now. Whereas like now it's like
yeah,
you have those gamers at their keyboards being like, no, well, in the lore, like she has like she can only
yeah,
breathe through her skin, and that's why her clothes is tattered
like the
because
Power
that's
Girl,
normal.
like the Power Girl boob window or whatever.
Oh yeah,
That's a famous one.
yeah.
Um,
I got nothing for that.
remember when Fox News like fucking threw a hissy fit over the sex scene in Mass Effect?
Oh
I
yeah.
remember. I think the headline was "X-rated box."
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, man, that was such a long time ago. But then like recently, they had that whole freak out, fucking Ben Shapiro freaking out over the Cardi B song.
Oh god, that was like 2 days ago. Time moves slowly now.
Everything's great. Everything's
I
going
yearn
well.
for death.
Everything is just fantastic.
I need a beach trip.
Yeah.
I actually do. I miss the beach. I
Although
don't trust people enough to go to the beach.
I have to be honest, I know like that's his whole thing, but I did. Oh my God, Ben Shapiro's on the Wikipedia page for the song.
What? Stream WAP, everyone.
Ben Shapiro, pictured, was one of a number of conservative figures to criticize the song's lyrics. I can't believe we're back to that already. And again, it's always fear of female sexuality. That's what it's always fear of. Always.
I don't really have a way to like tie that into this, but like maybe there's something there with like
Well, there's a little bit with.
Zuko at least and
Well, there's
May.
Azula like where she's like, well, if you want to get a guy, you have to laugh at his stupid jokes.
or Ty Lee.
When you remember,
Ty Lee tells that to Azula, right?
yeah, I remember when the guy's like, he says something about sand.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Ah, ha, 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 ha,
He's like,
ha."
yeah, this is like the sand capital, which is like
So stupid.
which is like every time I've driven a joke into the ground because I got one laugh out of it. Man, that brought back some memories I didn't even remember I had.
But I don't know. I just like that they kind of get the front and center status of this episode. They're the antagonists, but there's like genuine problems that they have to sort out, and we'll see how they come to terms with things as the series like heads into its end game. But it's not easy for these people. And we talked about like how Ty Lee, when she got coerced into joining Asula's like assassin death squad,
Mm-hmm.
that she had a life she was happy at, and now she's back home basically,
Yeah, at
and
the
that's
end
not
of,
like great for her either. And May is like she does have stuff to work out too, where maybe she is a little too emotionally closed off, but Zuko's not making it easier because he's lashing out at everyone and he doesn't even know why he's mad.
It's also, I just like that the episode goes like it's a fun episode, and then there's like a good like few minutes where it's just like everyone's yelling at each other.
Yeah, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
We see what happens when people stop being polite and start being real.
What?
The real world, Fire Nation.
Oh no, my God.
Is the real world still on?
I have no idea. Do I look like I watch fucking reality TV?
Yes. Holy
No.
shit. The Real World's been on for 33 seasons.
I hate so much. There's just now I'm like Zuko. I'm angry and I don't know why.
Because deep down, you're angry at yourself.
For not watching all 30 seasons of The Real World.
Because I'm bonding with friends over your mutual hatred of the people on The Real World.
No, but I do think this is a great Zuko moment too, where, it doesn't give him any easy way forward, but he does finally recognize that the problem is himself.
I was a little disappointed that Mai ended up comforting him a little bit at the end.
It's a little clean for resolution.
She was doing pretty good with being like, he would try to like make a move and she'd be like, "Don't touch me, I'm still mad at you."
Yeah.
Which frankly, I think that's a night where everyone just goes to bed kind of angry at each other.
Yeah.
Like you realize in the morning, like it's one of those things where if you tried to like stop being angry too early, it would actually be worse than just going off and being with your anger by yourself for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And the show does such a good job generally of like I brought up with Katara. When Katara's like angry, the show lets her like sit in her emotions because that's like a healthy thing to do. You don't have to lash out at people. That's not great, but show generally does a good job of like just letting people deal with their shit. And sometimes there's no easy resolution, like with Katara and Hakoda. And then here it is a little clean, but I'm okay with it.
And Zuko does lash out a little bit. I mean,
he's a lot of it.
A circus freak.
Yeah, he lashes out a lot of it, not a little bit. But that is kind of Zuko's thing. Doesn't make it okay. It is something that needs to be addressed more, but I mean,
it says a lot that like how much the show has shifted your perspective on him, though, where it's like now you're not like, oh my god, Zuko's an asshole. It's like, man, you're just disappointed in Zuko.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. Like, it's great to kind of shift that,
Yeah.
But then the group decides to come together and they bond over destroying that one kid's house.
I love that. Because that guy was kind of an asshole.
Yeah, but you know that, like, that kid's father came back and probably beat him with an iron cane.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
There was a murder in the next few weeks at Ember Island.
Ember Island's a happy place. Ah!
I mean, it's like,
that might be a little dark. Never mind. Whoa.
Wow. I was just going to point out that the end of Ferris Bueller where, like, Cameron destroys the car. And then he's like, no, I got to face my father on my own. And it's like, with every detail we've learned about Cameron's father, his father murdered him that night. Like, that's the only option.
A favorite episode from this bunch. We don't do this every week, but I'm going to do it right now.
I probably like the headband one. That one I really liked. But the beach is probably a close second.
Yeah, I don't know which one I prefer, but those are the best ones, I think. All solid. All solid across the board. The first one was really strong, too. And even 3 and 4, The Painted Lady and Sokka's Masters, are really good. It's just, I didn't have a lot to say about them. They're just really good. I remember this one being more uneven in the beginning. I am glad to be proven wrong. And I guess that's all we're here to talk about today. Those first 5 episodes. Next time, we're going to be doing things a little differently.
Hold up. It's time for everyone's favorite segment.
I have to record another podcast at 4.
Good job. It's time for Matt Takes a BuzzFeed quiz about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I have to charge my phone.
I believe the first one we did which character.
No, I'm sorry. You can't do it this time.
Probably should have saved that for the last one. Then I did which nation. Now it's which element would you bend? Or what kind of bender would you be? Are you ready, Diego?
No.
So who's your favorite Last Airbender character? All right. Toph. That's an easy one.
No, it's Zuko, but okay.
Well, I'm not asking you. I'm the one taking the quiz. Favorite Last Airbender creature? Turtle, duck, flying bison, winged lemur, eelhound, badger mole, or aardvark sloth?
Aardvark sloth, just because I like the name.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with that. How would your friends describe you? Chill, creative, down to earth, smart, intense, or emotional? I'm all those things. So I'm gonna say down to earth. That's me to a T. What's your favorite color? Red, blue, black, green, white, yellow. That's not all the colors.
No, but you got to choose from those.
It's blue.
How about blue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite season? Fall.
Winter.
Shut the fuck up. Which secondary bending skill would you like the most? I'm not going to list all of them because that would give stuff away. I'm going to go with the one that would be giving stuff away.
Can you explain what that is in a later date?
Yeah, it's the one that you actually should never do under any circumstances.
Oh. Oh, the one that's like ethically awful.
Yeah, I don't know why I picked it. I just thought it'd be funny, but then I realized I can't actually say it. So, which would your spirit guide be? Well, a dragon. That's an easy one. I got water, I guess.
Yay!
I don't know how. Water is your element. You're smart, gentle, and adapt. You always think twice before acting, and you have a good memory.
Adept.
Yep,
not adapt.
I'm smart. I'm smart and adapt.
I can't even read it. I just know it's like from the sentence.
I'm water.
I have to do one of these one day.
I win again.
I think I have to do this for the last one.
Maybe.
It only makes sense.
Thanks for stopping by, everyone.
Anyways, Matt, before we do plugs, next time we'll be talking about 6 episodes. We're doing things a little differently, although on Netflix it will still be listed as 5 episodes because they bundled up all the 2-parters together.
That's not confusing at all.
I know, it's stupid. So, I'm just going to go off the Wikipedia list of episodes. So if you get confused, too bad.
Don't be.
All right. So next time we're talking about Avatar and the Fire Lord, The Runaway, The Puppet Master, Nightmares and Daydreams, and The Day of Black Sun, The Invasion, and The Eclipse. Because that is a 2-parter episode that they bundled into one. So
check it.
Everywhere else it's listed as 2 episodes. On Netflix it's 1. That's not confusing at all. So if you get confused,
if there's one thing we've learned, it's that Netflix knows exactly how to handle the Avatar franchise.
Matt, where can people go to make you or to listen to more jokes like that?
Oh, all that greatness can be found over at Emperor OTN1 at Twitter. Hey, I haven't had dinner yet. I'm very hungry.
Very adept of you, Matt.
Oh, shit. Oh,
and you can follow me at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon. Check out the rest of the episodes and a playlist that'll be linked down below if you're watching on YouTube and SoundCloud. And you might get early access to the rest of the season if you're checking out the Patreon. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.
Adapt to change.